Hey entrepreneurs, today I want to help you to extract a little bit more energy and enthusiasm from optimism by just making one subtle shift, a different way of treating the process of trying to be an optimistic person. You know you're going to have higher energy if your optimism is high, right? You've all experienced this where a couple of negative days in a row of bad events start pushing you into a lower mental state and you just feel differently. You have less energy to bring to your work. And so you also know that you should try to, on purpose, do some state management to shift yourself back into a high energy state. You know that you should try to engineer the outside world by starting on the inside. That's the inside out revolution, right? Where you say, instead of waiting until my goals reach a certain point where then I'll let myself be happy, we want to reverse that and say, I choose happiness first. I choose optimism. I choose engaging in this world in a way that expresses my values first. And then I expect that the outside world will start to transform gradually over time as I live from the inside out in that way. And so those of you who are familiar with that, you may find this next comment a little bit strange. I want you to stop being selfish with your optimism. And what I mean by that is you're treating optimism like a hammer. It's a tool, and you try to use it in this very specific way. And if you think about a hammer and an anvil, most people, if you see a blacksmith working on something with a big heavy hammer, you think that's the power, right? That's the tool that we use to shape reality with the metal that you're hitting. But in reality, the more important tool is the anvil itself, that much larger chunk of iron that's essentially creating the environment for you to be able to use the hammer on. So what I'm talking about here is optimism that goes beyond just yourself. One of the downfalls I see in the way people try to think in optimistic terms is it's all selfish. It's about, okay, if I'm having a bad day, I'll think positive thoughts like, okay, so we had some negative financial events or some negative things happen with a team member. I'll think to myself, well, the next team member will be better, or the next week the finances will be better. And yeah, you should try to correct any negative distortions of, assuming that one downtrend means you're going to be in a downtrend forever. But that's a very small piece. That's like just looking at the hammer and thinking that that's how you're going to succeed. The anvil is the deeper subconscious narrative about the world itself. So you can practice optimism just by reminding yourself of what's wonderful about this world. It doesn't always have to be about your unique circumstance right now. And the reason this works better sometimes is because sometimes you're not going to really believe the positive thoughts as much if they're too specific about a problem that you're facing right now. You might say a positive thought, but kind of have this reactionary negative thought come up along with it that says, yeah, but right now that's not going well. But if you can tap into some of the things that are just universally true, for example, there's research that shows that if we journal about our values, just taking a moment to write down things like, I'm going to live my life in a way where I treat people well. That's just one of the values that I'll continue to do, whether I'm old or young. If I became a billionaire tomorrow, I'm still going to treat people well. If you said, I value fitness, that's something you can continue to pursue when you're 80 as much as you can now. It changes what it looks like, but it's a value that endures. And this is one of those things where if I hadn't seen the research and somebody just told me this is true, if you sit down and journal about your values for 10 minutes, it has a lasting positive impact on mental health. I would have thought, yeah, that sounds interesting, but I doubt that's true. This is a nugget of insight that comes from the world of scientists who are part of your world. And those people have discovered this nugget of insight that is very powerful, that if you just slow down to think, all right, what is good that doesn't change, that's not a part of the up and down stuff, the excitement of the good days and the low feelings of the down days? What are those things that remain true, a part of who I am, things that I say are good that I want to express more of and bring more into the world? And then go out beyond that. Ask yourself, what is beautiful about this world? What are some of the things that I really am looking forward to enjoying more of? So what does this mean? What does it mean when I say take optimism beyond yourself, be less selfish with your optimism? What is the anvil? How does that get translated in this analogy to thinking more broadly in terms of choosing an optimistic, positive mindset? What I'm talking about here is the many things that have a generalized effect that may not be specific to your current situation. Why does it work? Because if you think positive, optimistic thoughts about the world in general, or your life that's not specific to the current situation, but just what's beautiful about life. What are some of the things that you will get to achieve across the span of your life, not just in this current moment? What's beautiful about humans in general, or the opportunities that we all get to experience together? What are some of the things that generate a sense of awe? One of the things that's come out of the research that psychologists have done on the flow state and trying to purposely use flow state engineering to get yourself into flow states more often, that highly productive state. What we found is that one of the best triggers for being in flow state is a sensation of awe. Like when you go out at night and you look up into the night sky in a dark place away from the city light pollution, and you're just amazed by the brilliance and the beauty of the stars in the sky. On a warm summer night, looking up, you might just be transfixed with a state of awe. Those are things that are the anvil. Those are the beautiful things that we tend to ignore when we get too focused on the goals that are right in front of us. So by broadening your perspective and just instead of saying, how can I reframe this current negative situation? Sometimes you get more traction with bringing the energy of optimism into your life by going broader, by thinking bigger, and looking outside the immediate circumstances of whatever it is you're dealing with right now that's frustrating or pulling you down. So this is your challenge for this week. I want you to broaden your definition of optimism, to go beyond just yourself, but to think of it as the environment that your mind is living in when it focuses in on problems. It's so easy as an entrepreneur who never has an end, a finish line. You always just have more things that you have to pile up on your plate. There's this tendency for entrepreneurs to feel like I'm in a race that has no end, and that can drag you down. And so you want to sometimes slow down, pause, and say, wait a minute, let me take a minute to just appreciate what's so awesome about being alive. And what you're doing when you create that sort of natural, positive, optimistic environment for yourself is you make it a lot easier to be more optimistic on the specific stuff. When you pick up the hammer again and you say, all right, I'm confident we're going to find a solution for this problem that we're facing at work today. That's easier to do because zooming out, you were more optimistic about life in general. You didn't focus just on the problems or the things you don't like. Remember, our mind is designed to focus on problems, and we tend to survive because of that. But that negativity bias that it creates in us, it's something that diminishes our well-being and our sense of enjoyment. So if you want to enhance your energy and your optimism, think broader. Go beyond just yourself. Think about the people you care about. Think about strangers that you don't know who in some way inspire you or bring out a sense of awe. Think about the things that go beyond you, and you'll find that it's easier to put yourself into a state of optimistic enjoyment of life when it comes to the more specific things. Your challenge is just to notice an opportunity to do this. At some point, you're going to think something negative or something positive that's going to trigger a memory of me talking to you about these things in the coming days. When that happens, just ask yourself, how can I expand out? Let that ripple of positivity expand out beyond the current situation just a little bit more, and notice the lightness and the positive energy that unlocks in you. I'll talk to you again next week.